All right, folks, thank you so much and welcome again. Thank you all for joining us here today. My name is Tyler Mathis and I'm one of the Economic Development Officers for the Cape Breton Partnership. I'm your host today on behalf of Carla Arsenault, the President and CEO of the Cape Breton Partnership. Before we get started, I'm going to have Omar, our Labor Market and Development and Immigration Officer, also known as our technical wizard here today, describe some of the functions of this platform. Omar?
Thank you, Tyler. All right, so everyone should be seeing a little bar at the bottom of their screen. This is where you can use the chat function to reach our panelists and myself directly, or there's the Q&A function where you can submit your questions as we go along. Our panelists will be seeing these questions as they come in. If at the end of the session, I think it's easier that at the end of the session we start addressing all of your questions. If you have any technical difficulties in the invite, you can either email info@CapeBreton Partnership, we have someone moderating the email, or you can use the chat function to just shoot me a quick message and I will try to get it resolved for you right away. That's really about it. Back to you, Tyler.
Great, thank you, Omar. So the impact of COVID-19 around the world has been unprecedented. Our current situation was not even imagined a month ago, even by our fast-thinking entrepreneurs. As Cape Breton Unama'ki's private sector economic development organization, our main priority continues to be the health and wellness of our employees, clients, and our community. Our hope is that Cape Bretoners will be able to take the necessary precautions to stay healthy and safe at this time. We are working with our partners at all levels of government to make sure your concerns are being addressed and doing what we can to ensure the flow of communication remains open and working well. One of our primary purposes at the Cape Breton Partnership is to connect people from any industry or sector to the supports, information, and resources they need to be successful. Over the last 2 weeks, our team has been continuously reaching out to businesses and investors to understand the current reality and the most pressing concerns of businesses to determine what would be most helpful. Based on this feedback, we're hosting this webinar series to provide you with a host of different topics and to help address important concerns for Cape Breton businesses. Today, we're honored to connect people to ideas and solutions currently being tested by other entrepreneurs right here in Cape Breton. We also have a host of resources available on our website, capebretonpartnership.com, and there's a new tab for COVID-19 response, which we update multiple times a day as information and updates from the federal, First Nations, provincial, and municipal governments becomes available. We also provide links to resources from other entities, such as the Chambers of Commerce or the CFIB as an example. This is our second webinar, and they always go better with lots of questions. So please use the Q&A function as Omar described and let us know if there are future topics you'd like to see. We'll be sharing a recording of this webinar and slide deck on our website and through our social channels later on today or this weekend in order to benefit the most businesses that we can. This webinar is a panel discussion with 4 fast-thinking and innovative business people who are trying to think of new things in these challenging times. It is our honor to host these entrepreneurs and learn from their expertise and bold experimentation. After the 4 presentations, I'm going to start the questions off and then open the floor to the Q&A. Feel free to put in your question, as Omar mentioned, and we'll work to get all of them. If we don't, we'll include additional information on our website soon after the webinar gets posted up there. So first, I'd like to introduce Breton Brewing. Andrew Morrow was the first to our virtual stage. He's the co-founder of Breton Brewing. Andrew, thanks for being here today, and I'll run the slides for you, so thanks very much.
Perfect. Thanks very much for everybody for joining in. I just want to thank the Cape Breton Partnership for putting these on. I think it's very important that we all get together in this time of in history as it's being made to share ideas and get some inspiration from other businesses on what they're doing to help make things better in this situation. So at Breton Brewing Co., we have a great staff here that always come together. They have great minds to try to come up with new and innovative ways to do business. And this kind of situation is no different. So there's a few ways we've been pivoting with COVID-19. 3 of those are contactless deliveries. I think that's going to be a theme across maybe all panelists here. Retail protocols, and then future endeavors we're looking into as we speak. You want to flip to the next slide there? Okay, so our contactless deliveries, we actually have an online website, online platform for ordering online. It's through Shopify, but it's through our website, www.bretonbrewing.ca. You can go on there and you can place your order for delivery. We usually deliver the next day, pending the weather that we've been having these days. But It does a few things for us, but it keeps the engine running here on the retail side. It also keeps the public safe, and they can stay at home and have their product brought to them at the door. So we have a lot of delivery protocols in place, namely wearing some gloves and sanitizing any frequently touched surfaces as much as possible. Not making direct contact with the person at the door, kind of showing their ID through the window, leaving the product on their step and making sure they're there, and then going on from there. The second are retail protocols. So we're adhering to the Nova Scotia protocols that they're using with 5 patrons in a store at a time. We can only fit 4 comfortably with the 2-meter separation. So that's what we have. We have tape spots taped off on the floor. We have entering and exiting protocols. You enter through the front door and you exit through the back door. So there's contactless shopping at that point as well. We have protection from staff. We have barriers of 2 meters, and we're also looking into getting some plexiglass barriers for them as well. We also regularly sanitize any frequently touched surfaces, door handles, the debit machine, all those sorts of things. And people are buying in. They really are careful with this, and they're doing what they should in this time. So a few future endeavors there's their new island time cans. It's the first sneak peek that everybody would have at this can. We're going to continue to do some new can designs throughout this situation. This is already in the works, so it is going to come out next week or the week after. We have a sort of a captive audience right now. A lot of people are on social media more often than not, so this is a good time to use social media to your advantage. We're also looking into shipping across Nova Scotia with Canada Post. We're just working on the logistics on that side of things. We are lucky that the NSLC is still open. We're one of the few businesses that are lucky to have that. So we're working with them on new programs that they're coming out with everything that's going on. And then also looking into some hand sanitizer processes right now and ingredients. So that's something that's on our minds and coming in the next few weeks. And also, at the end of the day, we're all trying to stay safe. So we're doing as much as we can to keep the public safe and also keep our employees safe as well.
Oh, whoops, sorry. There's Andrew's contact information for folks. So we'll also have contact information at the end. But thanks very much, Andrew. Really appreciate you and your company at this time, a relatively new company, and next to a more established one from another part of the island. I'm happy to introduce Larchwood Canada and Dawn Beamish, the general manager there. Dawn, thanks for being here today, and we're looking forward to hearing what you have to say about what Larchwood is doing in Marguerite. Dawn?
And Dawn, before you start, I just wanted to very quickly introduce Sean O'Toole. Just 1 second. Sean is with the public health officer with Nova Scotia Environment, and he was an attendee, and we thought it would be appropriate to promote him as a panelist to chime in with any additional information at the end. Don, sorry to interrupt. Please go ahead.
Okay, well, thanks so much for inviting me to present. Larchwood, we're a cutting board manufacturer, countertops, custom countertops, some flooring that we sell locally. We started off as flooring, but really the cutting boards and the countertops are our business. We do everything from log to finished product. So we have a staff of approximately 20 people most of the time. And a lot of our business, as in many businesses, is third and fourth quarters of the year. So this time of year, we usually use to build up stock. And we're missing some of our larger orders, especially our wholesale orders. And so it's been a little tough. So we've dropped down to a skeleton staff right now. And we'll see, we'll run with that for a while and see where we end up. So that's our main shop. And we also have a retail shop in Wolfville that we've closed down for now. So that's where our business is at. And, you can see from this slide here, we have a fair representation in wholesale and retail all around the world. And um, obviously, what we did in the last few years was to develop our online presence more. As everybody knows, that's the way the trend is going. So we opened our own Amazon stores. We redid our own website, translated it into French and German, and redid all the photography. And so we're that kind of helped us be ready for something like this, and as ready as one can be. It's nothing that I ever thought would happen, and but this is where we are. So it's a little sad to lay people off, but I think it won't be too long before we bring people back on. So in terms of our COVID innovations, basically we've invested in Amazon advertising. We have Amazon.ca and Amazon.com. And our Amazon shops are fulfilled by Amazon, so people get free shipping, and it works quite well. We started that in approximately 2018, and it just keeps growing. So that was a really good investment for us. And we're also investing in Google Ads to promote our own website. That's where we make the most money, obviously, off of selling from our own website. And just this week, we put up a sale to our wholesale customers, and we have an email list of customers that we've collected over the last 10, 15 years. And it's a sizable list, and 2 or 3 times we put out a sale to those customers. And so we've done that again. And we also added a free shipping to our website just to add to that, give people a good deal. People are stuck at home, and people still shop, as we're finding out. Like I say, it's only been going for a few days, but we've already been getting some pretty decent response to that. And the other thing we're doing with our own shop here in East Margaree is we have a sign on the door. It's not letting public in, but if someone wants to make an appointment to make a purchase, they can do that. And we also have advertised that on Facebook, and we're advertising it on Facebook also for our Wolfville shop. And the countertop work is just continuing. So we're booked for approximately 6 to 8 weeks in advance right now. So we have one person who's dedicated to that, and he's still busy. So we're not doing too bad. And again, as I said, it'd be really great to bring everybody back on, but we have to be cautious ourselves. Okay, thank you.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Dawn. I'm sure there'll be questions for you and the other panelists at the end. Very much apprecited. So next, we have Scott Morrison from Flavor Creative Catering. Scott's here in Sydney and joining us here today. So Scott, thanks so much for being here, and we look forward to hearing what you're doing at your business.
Thank you for having me. Well, at Flavor, we're adapting, I think, daily with all of the announcements and news that are coming out. But what we've recently started this week was no contact deliveries. So we have been doing that at our downtown location, and we're taking phone or email orders and delivering them directly to people's houses. So that's our main way of dealing with this as of right now. After today's announcement, where there was further funding going into the wage subsidy of 75%, I think, by the federal government, we may look at upping the amount of staff we have at Flavor Downtown and changing the parameters on what we do. We still can't have eat-in people, but we may be able to do, pick up at the door as well as takeout. So that's the main way we've been doing things. We have 3 operations, but only one of them is currently partially open, and that's Flavor Downtown. And after, the next week or so, we're hoping to maybe move into having a few more operations open now that we have some help on the funding side for wages. So yeah, that's us, and that's what we're doing. We've had a huge support system from our customers. We had lots of customers calling us, asking how they could help, wanting to purchase gift cards or wanting to do takeout. When we opened Wednesday for the no contact delivery, we had a hard time keeping up with the orders. It was extremely busy, and we delivered all the way across Sydney. We were in Myra, Marion Bridge, Glace Bay, New Waterford. So coordinating it all was quite a task, but that it worked out, and we plan on continuing to do that. Maybe not for full weeks, but select days throughout the weeks moving forward. At this point, we're not really sure how things are going to progress. So, like I said, taking things day by day. Like Andrew mentioned before, it's a good time to be on social media because there's a pretty good amount of people on there now for a longer period of time. So it's a good time to promote, and that doesn't cost anything. So we'll be taking advantage of that. And you never know, maybe when, in the next few days, we might be able to deliver a Breton brewing with a takeout order like they're doing in Ontario. That would be interesting. So we're hoping to see some of those new things come into place. But yeah, so thanks for having me, and any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Awesome. Thanks, Scott. And thanks to the folks that have already put some questions in. We appreciate that. And we'll have Scott and everyone else's contact information at the end as well, as I said. So thanks very much. Next, we have Heather Austin Colomb, the co-owner and operator of the Farmer's Daughter Country Market in Wakagama. Thanks so much, Heather. And we look forward to seeing what you're doing there at your business.
Thank you. So we'll go to the next slide. We are located in Wakagama, so we're rural Cape Breton, and we're kind of like a big general store if you haven't visited us already. So lots of our business is not seeing any business right now. Our gift barn, our Christmas, our gifts and our clothing. We're down about 60% right now over last year. So we're really concentrating on our baking and our gourmet foods and our takeout, because we're not doing eat in anymore. So we'll go to the next slide. So we're constantly thinking, I'm thinking every day of different things to keep our business going. Last week we offered deliveries, and because we're rural Cape Breton, our business is quite broad. So we ended up picking deliveries, but certain days, certain areas. Last Tuesday, I was all the way down in Marguerite, up to Middle River, to Bedeck, and then back home. And then in Inverness the next day, Port Hood. And so this week, though, we've expanded because we've had requests for Judic and Port Hawkesbury, because they're missing our stuff as well. So we have quite a big delivery area. A big thing now is we've had lots of people volunteer to do deliveries for us, which is very thankful. We're expecting to pick up thinking though, I'm driving by L'Arche, I was thinking how businesses like them or organizations like them are suffering as well. They have their big fundraisers in the spring, and they can't do that this year. So now I'm offering 10% of all our delivery sales, all our home delivery sales will go towards L'Arche, helping them out. And also we were down to doing 1 delivery a week to Port Hood Co-op, and we were increasing that to 2 because they are doing quite well. And that's how we're doing things on the delivery side. In our store, we've moved our self-serve coffee behind the counter, so we will serve you. We only have 1 cash open now, so we can allow for the 6-foot distancing. And we've had installed plexiglass there, so it protects us and the customers. We've moved shelving and displays around, so there's free flow through our store. And we haven't gone as far as putting tape on floors or putting caution tape up. We just ask people to keep their 6-foot distance in our store, and everybody has been following the rules. And I'm happy to see that. And people kind of thank us for kind of providing some normalcy in this situation. I am coming up with new things every day. I do use Square for my business. People don't think you can run a big business on Square, but we put a lot of sales through our Square system. And I was on there the other day, and I can convert all my stuff that's already in my inventory onto a free website, which I'm working on. I just have to do a few things to quirk it so people be able to start doing their orders online. Just because things I have in my thing I might not have. I have under sandwiches, I might just have chicken. So I have to change that to chicken sandwich so people know what they're ordering. But I can do all my invoicing through there. So people call me up an order, I just do an invoice and it gets emailed to them and they pay online. And if they don't want to pay by credit card online, we are accepting email transfers. And I'm trying to think of different family pre-packs that I can do and try to promote. Like we might have some with our chicken pies or turkey pies with a loaf of bread and a pie, like a meal for an evening, and I'm trying to promote those. So that's pretty much what we are doing at the Farmer's Daughter.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Heather. Really appreciate sharing all those innovative, and I think it's important to see what businesses do in the rural areas versus urban areas versus the different industries. It's fascinating how there's some things that are very similar and some things that are different. I think we're just seeing if Sean is available to chat. I see he's back there. Sean, maybe if you wouldn't mind just introducing yourself briefly, and we can, we're kind of running, this is a little bit different. We weren't anticipating this. It's a pleasure to have you here. So I'll turn over the floor to you while we get some questions lined up here.
Yeah, so it's Sean O'Toole. I'm working from home today. I'm a public health officer with Nova Scotia Environment. So some of you folks are familiar with my face, and I've been in some of your establishments. I'm just here simply as a resource, and I know I've had calls from businesses just about the social distancing and the self-isolation. So I'm simply joining just as a resource. I'm also CB Cape Eats for those who follow me on Instagram. So I am a foodie. So it dovetails neatly in with what I do as a day job. But I'm here for questions people have just about that. It's great to see the innovation that people have in the business, trying to figure this all out. I mean, we're all Cape Bretoners, and we're all trying to figure this out day by day and sometimes minute by minute, in keeping those public health measures in place. So, as I say, that's what all I have. I'm just here as a resource if people have questions about some of that stuff.
Awesome. Okay. Thanks, Sean. And so we may have some questions that come in on the platform for you, for Sean as well, and others. I'm going to let our panelists have a look at some of those questions as they come up. But first, I'm going to ask. Maybe I'll go back to Andrew just briefly to kick things off. Andrew, what do you think will permanently change in your business as a result of this challenge? Has there been something that you're like, wow, this is something that'll continue, that'll help our future success?
Sorry, my internet kind of lagged there, but I think you said that is there anything that's going to be more of a staple going forward that came from this? Is that what the question was?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Is there a positive permanent change that you think will?
Yeah, I think that, the online section of our business was something we have been looking at for some time, and we just introduced our new website in the past year and have introduced online shopping in the past year as well. But the alcohol sales, the beer sales through that avenue is something that we hadn't tried before, but we were trying to get there. So this has kind of sped up the process a bit, and I think it's been working fairly well. We were up to almost 250 orders since Thursday, a little over a week. So people are buying in, thanks to all the folks who are, supporting local at this time. It's more important now. It's always important, but more important now than ever, I think. Yeah, I think the online version would be something we'll stick with.
There, thank you very much. Actually, Omar, I can't quite see the questions, so I'm going to let the panelists handle the questions and maybe take one of the first ones. Or Omar, you want to jump in there? I'm not seeing the questions up on my screen.
Okay. Here, let me just start the video. Okay, so we have here a question from Andrew Brooks. I'm wondering if anyone knows of funding programs, etc., pre-COVID or new COVID related that are specifically for developing websites and getting businesses online.
Maybe I'll handle that one. I mean, I think everything's fairly new. Things are coming out today. You know, as we speak, you know, as Scott mentioned, the subsidies upgraded to 75%. I haven't specifically looked into that. If there's anything that's developed for websites or getting business online, it's a great idea. I think it should be there. And I think there's, you know, maybe now more than ever, there's access to funding, you know, maybe not specifically related to that, but funding in general for people to try to get that avenue up and running.
Okay.
Okay, the next question was, does it look like wage subsidies will only apply to currently hired employees, or could it apply to new hires as well? And as Scott mentioned, there was new announcements this morning from the federal government. I've briefly looked at them, but Scott, maybe you want to add what you think about that.
As far as I understand, and this is early, I think they're going to apply to new hires as well as existing employees. The chamber does a pretty good job of summarizing everything and getting the bullet points out once they decipher all the announcements. The announcements come out and we have to figure out what they mean, how to go about it. But I think from what I understand, that 75% is anybody you have on the payroll, whether they be new or old. I can't confirm that, but that's the understanding I have.
Omar, maybe you want to take the next one?
Sure thing. The next question is, we are a glamping site in Judique, opening in May, hopefully. Just wondering what is available or where we could find cash flow. We have a few reservations, but afraid of cancellations and thus refunds. Anyone has input?
Part of that announcement today, there was a bridging loan, a $40,000 bridging loan that was announced as well. That was designed for small businesses to help bridge the gap between being open and closed, and to use for their cash flow purposes. From what I understand, you apply it through your bank, and it's a government guaranteed loan, possibly 10,000 of it forgivable as well, and maybe the interest free for a year. Again, I'm not 100% sure. It just came out today, but that sounds like something I would look into if I think it's a good idea, basically.
For sure. I think I'll point out too that there's many good websites that are putting information together. If you go to CapeBretonPartnership.com, there's a COVID-19 tab. If you click that tab, you'll have links to all of the announcements that have been made so far. As application processes become announced to accompany those programs, we will put those there as well. So right now, I know off the top of my head, there's one from the BDC and EDC, and then the press releases from the Government of Canada, as well as what local and provincial governments. Okay, we have one more. I think this one came in on the chat. I don't see it on the Q&A, but we'll add it there. Heather, when it comes to offering pre-packs, do you see the Farmer's Daughter partnering with local Cape Breton producers? And this person notes Galloping Cow as one while considering safety protocols.
Yes, that's something we just started talking about just yesterday, because we're also thinking of ways that we could partner maybe with other people doing deliveries, because that we could add our bread to other people that might be doing deliveries. So that's something just to keep my workers working, but it's something we are very open to. So if someone, especially with produce, we don't have a lot of produce and it's hard to get produce right now into our store, but definitely if someone has produce or wants to add things to our pre-packs, we'll love to talk to you.
Does any of the panelists want to take any of the questions that they see up on the Q&A screen?
Yeah, I wanted to open it up that the panelists, you can open up the Q&A tool and you can go through the questions and answer them as you go. Like we don't need to moderate. This can be a conversation back and forth. And as well to all the attendees, we're seeing a few questions coming in on the chat tool, which is difficult for the panelists to kind of, say who wants to answer what and kind of control it. So would you be able to take the questions from your chat box to the Q&A function so that we can have the panelists address them directly? Thank you.
I'll take Jillian's question there. She asked it specifically to me anyway. So can they see that question or not? Should I read it? Sorry, I can't hear you.
You should read it.
I should read it? Okay.
Yeah.
So Jillian asks, thanks to all panelists. Andrew, I have a question for you. I'm in the process of opening a cidery, hopefully. We will have a project at the end of April, and we are trying to figure out the best way forward. If you were in our position, having not sold a drop, would you suggest we move forward and focus our sales on NSLC or at the NSLC and delivery? My hesitation is the hefty upfront cost of getting a mobile canner here to can their product. I think that absolutely they should focus in that direction. The NSLC, in other jurisdictions has been deemed essential service across the country, and I think that that's kind of the same thought process here. There can be a lot of strain put on a lot of systems if the NSLC does close, and I know PEI did close theirs, and they since reneged on that, and they've opened it back up. So they have seen the light on that side of things. So I think NSLC for the time being, even though there's limited access in there, the sales from our side are still strong. And maybe a little bit early, like usually it doesn't peak this early, but that's kind of the situation we're into. And the norm for delivery, as we see with all panelists across the board here, that's going to be the new norm for months to come, I think. In my eyes, I think that this virus is not going to go away until we get a vaccine. We might plateau that curve, but we're going to need some type of vaccine to help really take this in a new direction. So, I think from all the doctor standpoints, we're looking into the fall for that stuff. And I don't pretend to be a doctor, but we're looking at the long haul for this and trying to focus on what we can do right now and into the next few months and with our operations. And I think that that's a good way to focus for the new cidery.
Awesome. Thanks, Andrew. I just wanted to add to what Scott had replied to a previous question. We just got a summary of some of the announcements from today. And to Scott's answer, that subsidy up to 75% is designed to allow employers to keep employees on the payroll or to rehire those who've been laid off as a result of this. A new Canada Emergency Business Account allowing Canadian banks to offer $40,000 in business loans guaranteed by the federal government for qualified applicants. Additional $12.5 billion to Export Development and Business Development Bank of Canada for lending, and the deferral of GST, HST payments. So there's one other question that kind of pertaining to that from a person asking, what do you need from government that has not yet been announced or addressed? So this is a fast-moving, changing response to this crisis. And so your opinions might even be changing as day by day, but does anyone have something in particular that they think they need from government that hasn't been announced or addressed?
I can step in and take this. As of right now, after looking at the wage subsidy that was announced today and the bridge loan, I feel that there's some good options that were put in place for small businesses to cope with the difficult business atmosphere we have. I don't see anything other than finding out how to apply for the loans, getting access to web pages with information. As long as all the information is out there and easy to access, the only thing I would think that would be important is timeframes. How long is it going to take? Is it going to be bogged down with so many people businesses making applications. But I feel that the provincial and federal government are handling this situation very, very well. And that announcement today was that was a massive announcement, very, very big for small business. So I feel that things have gone, as well as possible, and the government seems to be taking care of small business very well. So there's nothing immediate that I think should be added.
Maybe I'll just add to that a little bit there. One thing that I think they could look at, and there might be an announcement today on the property taxes for people that might own their own property or business location, to help alleviate a few strains as well.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm just going to add there too. These programs are great that are coming out, but it seems like when you do get to applying them, I applied for one so far, they say it could take up to weeks to a month or so to get any answers. So if you're going to be hiring people back, you still have to pay them. So be knowing the speed that this funding is going to come, that's a huge factor.
Thanks. I think I have Sean up to answer a question there. Sean?
I see a question from Val at Dr. Luke's. The only precautions that we're looking at there is social distancing between particular patrons. Yeah, if you put marks on the sidewalk so that people are spaced in between, I think that is awesome. Preferred, sort of, if you're going to just that window up, the walk-up window would be superb. Just prevents traffic in the inside because those counters are so open when you're serving customers and potential for transmission there. Some other businesses, Max Convenience in Sydney certainly has put up a large plexiglass screen between them and their customers. So there's process controls you can put up. But other than that, it's keeping that distance. Contactless payments are key that I think a lot of folks are doing to try to provide that distance between them and yourself, and placing it on the windowsill and backing away so that they can pick it up, sanitizing regularly those counters to prevent the spread of transmission, and you're not actually touching somebody else's hands as you're handing that stuff off. Obviously, making sure that staff aren't sick when they're reporting to work. They don't have a temperature, they don't have a cough, they don't have unusual health problems that they didn't have the day or days leading up to them coming to shift.
I'll ask, we had one recently here, any ideas as to when small businesses can start applying for these programs? And it speaks to what some of our panelists have been saying. I just sent a note to one of our clients this morning. The best that we can see in the announcements that we've read through is that they should be open to apply in early April. Obviously, every indication is that things are working as swiftly as possible. But that's been the latest that we've heard. We will, I'll keep on reiterating, as we find out where those specific web pages are, those specific applications are, we will be putting up on our website. And I'm sure many other places will as well, but we'll work to make it as, I think our team is making up to 10 edits a day on that page as new information comes in.
So there is a question where Sean said, I'm not sure, would like to answer this one live. Have you put in place any special processes to ensure your food handling is modified to account for COVID-19?
So over the last number of days, I've certainly been working with the farmers market and the Cape Breton Food Hub. And they've gone through the processes of making sure there's coolers for any long distance transport. Obviously if it's a few minutes away from the pickup point for the food hub, it's driving it 5 minutes across town. So keeping that sort of in mind when you're doing deliveries, especially if you're going a significant distance, that you have coolers and controls in place to keep that food either hot or that food cold. It's common sense, and I know everybody that is here knows all those principles, and I have full confidence that they're applying those appropriate principles.
Great, thank you, Sean. seeing there's a crystal ball question anticipating the future. If each speaker could pull out the crystal ball for a minute, wondering what each of you think this year's tourism season will look like in Cape Breton. This is a big one. Are each of you planning to continue to invest in marketing and advertising as you have in previous years?
I can handle that first. I can go first there. I think that, you know, as we're looking at things week by week here, we have to kind of pivot, you know, just like we've done in our businesses, to look at the advertising avenues that we might be taking in order to align those a little bit better going forward, at least in the foreseeable future, because we don't know what's coming down the pipeline. But so for us, we're going to continue to invest in marketing. I don't know what that tourism season is going to look like. I mean, we could anticipate it, at least since the cruise ships have canceled since July 1st or something, the last I heard, that it's going to be down a little bit. But we're going to continue to invest in a lot of social media marketing. We did have a billboard marketing plan in place, so we're going to maybe pivot that a little bit. But, you know, I think social media right now is where a good, you know, people can focus most of their efforts on for advertising in an unknown world as we have it today.
Don, could I get you? Maybe you had spoken to some of that, your current efforts and your future plans at Larchwood. Can you maybe add to that? I think you're on mute there still, Don. There you go.
I just think that people are going to be hesitant to come here, and people here are going to be hesitant to see people coming here from all over the world. And so we have to kind of look at that from that point of view. And hopefully it will be by the middle of the summer or so. It might be a lot better than it is now. I'm sure it will. But in terms of marketing, we'll continue with our marketing. And because we'll have, you know, this possibility we'll have a good local business as well as the visitors. But over 20% of our income every year comes through the summer's season and into the fall. And so we're looking at a big hit if people don't show up.
Sorry, I had a question, whether the BDC is recognizing startups during all of this. I apologize if I haven't heard specific information on that to those who have that question. We'll work to have that answer up accompanying this presentation when we get it up on our website. Unless someone has information that I don't, which is very possible given the changing circumstances here. And so then we have only one other in the queue here. We are nearing the end of our hour, so if you have additional questions, please get them into the Q&A session there, and we'd love to answer them. This one is from a local employer who has only one employee, albeit the world's greatest. And this person is wondering if it's possible to apply for the emergency response benefit, or I might have the acronym wrong, CERB, for that person at the same time receiving the 75% wage subsidy. And right now, I really have a guess. I believe I read that that's not the case. However, we will work to make sure again that is specifically addressed when we load this up. So we don't, that ends what we have in the queue. Do we have any of the panelists that had any questions for each other at this time? Okay. I think, and so I guess just going forward, maybe just one last one. There has been limited programs there that are actually accessible. Have any of your businesses, or perhaps businesses that you know of, actually accessed those programs, or is there some specifically that you plan? And I know we've mentioned, I think we all know the wage subsidies we plan to access, but maybe some that are a bit more obscure that anybody plans to use or utilize at this time?
I can jump in a little bit. I think for any self-employed business owners, as far as I know, there's a $2,000 a month payment that can be applied for. Again, I think that happens in the first week of April. And this is to all self-employed people who have lost their job or income due to the COVID-19 crisis.
Thanks. I think I see a couple more questions in the queue. Does anyone want to take those too?
Oh, I feel they're not questions. They're like thank you notes. I don't have a question, but I want to offer thanks. So thank you for thanking us. And we thank you for thanking us for thanking you.
Exactly. So maybe we'll take that opportunity. We do have another question just came in, whether there's a transcript. No, the video will be up in its entirety on our website either today or this weekend, and the slide deck. So though we can't type in everybody's great insights here from these great businesses. Thank you very much to Dawn and Heather, Andrew and Scott, and Sean coming in late last minute, and everybody at their homes with their families. That we really appreciate it. As I mentioned, also we will work to answer your outstanding questions when we load this presentation onto our website. Sessions next week are being planned. Details will come as we know them.
Why is what?
That's great. And this is eerily like all of our phone calls these days with everybody's families involved. So that's great. We have a short evaluation survey that is going to pop up on your screen really quickly here. If you can fill it out, we'd really appreciate it. It'll help us inform future sessions. Before we close, Omar, any other final technical points as we end today's webinar?
No, just thank you to all our panelists. Thank you, Tyler, for moderating. We did not get any technical difficulty questions or issues, which is great. And if there are any other topics you would like us to do, please let us know, and we'd be happy to host another one.
Yeah, thank you very much. We've thanked our panelists, which is well-deserved. I'd also like to thank all those people who've tuned in. We appreciate that, and we appreciate the feedback, so we can get pertinent, timely, and relevant information to business owners and Cape Bretoners generally. Thank you very much, and we look forward to doing this again next week, at least once, maybe twice, and if we're lucky, 3 times. Have a good afternoon, folks, and have a good weekend.
Thanks, everyone.
You too. Take care.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for chiming in, Sean.
Thanks as well. And if people have additional questions, about some of those sorts of things, you can contact our office at 563-2100.
Okay, I'm gonna put that message up to everyone.
Yeah.
What was the number again, Sean?
563-2100.
Great.